My oldest articles are first.
Ah,
And I think that I have somewhat improved over the years.
I think so.
So I think that the last ones are better than the first ones.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
also some stuff in there that I put in there for my personal edification.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, in the very beginning, there are the Gospel of John, the Gospel of Matthew, just a condensation.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
not the whole thing, of course.
Yeah.
For me to see, you know, how it contradicted themselves.
Yes, I see. Sure.
So, you know, a lot of people wouldn't be interested in
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Some of them, I think, is pure nonsense.
Yeah.
Insane.
But
Well,
no, it's an imperfect world,
of course,
and and everyone tries.
you know,
And
like I say in this thing, and this is something that I only came up with in the last, well, even before publishing this, at the last moment. Everything moves. That I knew,
yeah,
because that is Greek, panta rai,
yeah,
and that is true. Everything does move.
Unless
you know,
it's-
even the stationary. We're moving at God knows what kind of a speed through the universe.
that's right.
And I put down there even the truth,
Yeah, yeah,
because the truth moves too. And like I explain on the inside, this CD can be used for purposes that may suit you best by saving the articles that interest you and deleting the others, but not too quickly. In my published articles, I ask for feedback to explain my point or learn from disagreement. I propagate skepticism, but that goes for my articles even more. Question them critically. I feel we just have to become more questioning to cut down on gullibility and ignorance. Science has to constantly question conventional knowledge and scientific truth. So faith-based knowledge should be questioned no less. Now that to me is very important.
yeah. That is, and that's a theme through much of your writing.
Our middle class needs to become wiser in order to outsmart the super-rich suppressors that twice caused the devastating depression. And no, I'm not advocating a real physical class warfare. I think we have to learn to keep the good of belief systems, but reject the bad. We must discriminate. I hope you will find a few gems in this.
Well, John, the thing about it is that you didn't just talk about writing. You
Oh, no.
actually
No.
did the hard work of writing consistently. Now that
Well,
separates you from 97% of the population that has great aspirations and dreams of writing, but never gets down to the hard work of
I'm
actually
really
doing.
not thinking. Writing was not my purpose. Thinking was my purpose. And when I just started a long, long time ago, I wanted to know if philosophy had kept up with the technological
Yeah.
advancement, and it hasn't.
No.
No, because I find in the old philosophers more truth than in the current philosophers, even though the current philosophers have far more knowledge. When I was a teenager, about 13 years old, I went to the gymnasium. And the gymnasium is not like here where you exercise, but it's a school that teaches Latin, Greek, mythology. And at a certain moment, a new Greek teacher came in. And he looked like a Greek god. And he looked at all of us, individually, said nothing, and then all of a sudden he said, "En archei en hologos, kai hologos en proston theon, kai theos en hologos." And we sit there, yeah, sure. So he turns around, goes to the blackboard, and writes it down in Greek. And that turns out to be the first sentence out of the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, God was close to the Word, and God was the Word. Never made a lick of sense to me. This whole thing started with a word? Give me a break. What was it? Abracadabra?
Yeah.
But as a 13-year-old, you're not going to argue with the teacher who has a doctorate. Many years later, I thought about it, and that was after I had already migrated to the United States.
Sure.
Our word logic comes from the Greek word logos.
Yes.
So if the translator had said, in the beginning was logic, God was close to logic, and God was logic, that would have made a lot more sense to me.
Sure.
But then the clergy would be out of the picture. Really, because they were not known for their logic.
Yeah.
But the scientists and the philosophers were.
Yeah.
So in order to represent God,
Yeah.
the scientists should do that, not the clergy. And I thought to myself, well, I think that's true. So I called a friend of mine in Holland who attended the same class. But he had, in the meantime, also become a professor doctor at a university.
Okay.
Now, he had a doctorate in theology and a professorship in communication. I told him what I thought. I said, tell me where I'm wrong. He said, no, John, it is the creative word. I said, what the hell does that mean? And it is not in the Greek New Testament. Because there is a word for creative. And that wasn't used. Also, it didn't say in the beginning were words, plural. Just the word.
Yeah.
So he told me, he said, our teacher was still alive. So, and he gave me his address. The teacher had in the meantime also become a professor, but he was emeritus, retired.
Yeah.
I asked him what was wrong with my reasoning, never expecting an answer, but I did get one.
Marvelous.
And he started off by saying, don't ever forget where you came from and always remain humble. And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. Then he answered me. He said, you are totally in line with the Gnostics of the original movement. And so here you have the strange situation that the old fossil agreed with me and my contemporary didn't.
There you go.
But now I have to give my own opinion.